All right, welcome back. So we've done a bit of cleaning up and prepped a few bits and pieces. As you can see, we've moved all the standoffs over to the new chassis. We've mounted the servo and the steering bell crank. Quick tip with these Team Circuso chassis, if you put the chassis on a nice flat surface and check to see that if it's rocking, you need to remove the servo screw. This is the screw that kind of sits a little bit proud, and it'll cause the chassis to rock and give you a false indication. So always remove that screw at the back for the servo before you do that kind of check. So I went ahead and put together the rear pod. So we have a new whole new aluminium set here. I've kept the other motor mount one as a spare, but this one, this section on the other one was bent off to the side. There's no point in repairing it, just get rid of it. It sits nice and flat, so it's ready to be installed. And as you can see, we've got the new VP Pro UFO head screws on here, which actually look quite good, and underneath as well. And the tool heads fit into these very nicely. There's no slop. Very well made screws. Set up the steering knuckles as well. I've done it as per the manual. We've got a 2.5mm shim in here on each side. When we get to putting these into the front suspension, I'll show you guys a quick tip. So compared to, let's get a clear background there. There we go. Compared to the stock plastic ones, you can see the stock plastic ones have a inbuilt little section which helps it stand off the ball. You need to do that with shims on the alloy one, because it has a much larger flat surface. You'll end up binding on either the chassis plate. Like when the ball is all the way back and you're running like a lot of caster, you'll end up touching this part here. So you need to stand it off a bit. So I'll show you what that looks like when we get to that point. Building the new suspension, it was good actually. Goes together quite well. I quite like it. It's fairly free. That'll run. That'll few runs, and that'll loosen up a little bit more. It does come on the parts tree. You do get these little quick adjusters for doing your caster. I didn't use them because I measured them and they're not very accurate. You put two of them together, it's supposed to add up to 2mm and give you 9 degrees caster. So I just put 2mm shims in there instead. And honestly, it's not that hard to change. It's very easy. There is one limiting factor that I have discovered since building this. The maximum caster that you can run is 9 degrees. And that's just because you've now run out of space in here. If you really wanted to, you could probably remove a bit of material from the inside of the suspension arms, and then it'll give you a little bit more movement to go backwards. But I think 9 degrees is enough. And being able to move forward, you can get 6 and 3, obviously, or whatever shim combination you put in there, you can set it to whatever you want. I mostly run about 9 degrees or 6 degrees, just depending track setup and tires and things. And then the bottom plate, I really like how these new PTFE or nylon inserts work. They're really nice, super smooth, No oil, no lubrication, nothing. Just pop them in. No massaging, nothing. Just they're not sloppy. They just work. It's brilliant. It's great. Love it. The top ones, little stiff when I first put them in. They seem to be working free the more I keep playing with it. So yeah, I'm just going to leave them as they are and probably just work itself out. And then as you can see here, you've got top arms to match the 180 bottom plate. And then to adjust your ride height, they give you these spacers. So there's a 1mm and a 2mm. And then obviously if you put them together, it's 3. And then you can run nothing as well. So that's your ride height adjustment. I'm going to use 2, just because the diameter of the Accelerate tires is a little bit larger than most F1 tires. So I'll use 2, which will push the chassis down towards the ground. So how that works is this plate sits there, push it on nice and flush, and then that goes on the top. And then basically, because that's mounted to the chassis, it then drops the chassis. So very easy to adjust your ride height. All right. So I'm quite happy with the new front end. Looking forward to trying it out this weekend. And they give you some extra lower ball cup kind of arms there as well. One other tip. These have flashings on them from the molding process. Just use some wet and dry and just get them off so they sit nice and flat. Okay, let's go through rebuilding the diff. So what I like to do is pop the other hex back on the other side. And then just nip it up. Doesn't need to be tight. Grab an old tire. And you'll see what that's for in a second. All right, makes a nice handy stand, and then it's very easy to reassemble the diff. Get some brake cleaner or isopropyl alcohol, and then I use isopropyl alcohol, and that's what I clean the balls with. And you can clean the bearings and things with that as well. Press all the balls out. Try not to lose any. Nylon brush is very useful for cleaning the spur gear. As you can see, it gets a lot of stuff on it. Now, I don't believe you need to sand these, like most people do. I think that's an old thing from when everybody used to use steel balls, because the steel balls are not very hard, so they do become pitted. And then obviously you can't fix them and polish them. But if you sand this, you're wasting your time, because you're removing the ball race that you've worked so nicely to create, running the diff in, which I'll show you when we get to that point. But you can see there's like a line here that the balls run on. If you remove that, then it's got to start over from scratch. And put the 2 plates together, make sure they are not bent. Alright, that looks good. Grab the bearings, I'll give them a flush as well. Do be aware, these two little races here, alright, they are different diameters, internal, the internal hole. The larger one goes down in this holder, and the smaller one is on the outside. Rebuild your diff probably every 4 to 5 races. And then that method that I showed you guys in the previous video about rotating the wheels, that's a pretty good indicator of when you need to start rebuilding your diff, or if you just haven't done a good job from the beginning. Right, these are super handy for cleaning RC stuff. Alright, time for the spare gear. Toothbrush or a nylon brush is what I recommend. You pick them up at most hardware stores. That's a nylon brush. I'm just going to brush this off camera because I don't want the stuff going all over the place. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the blue background of the paper towel to check how well I've cleaned the gear by checking to see if there's any debris. So a nice light colored background really helps you see if you still got stuff in there. Which are looking pretty good, it's not too bad. So I use the 1UP Racing pink ball diff grease. And that's what I've been using for basically since I started racing F1. And it works really nicely. I like it. I'm running out actually to get some more. To make sure you keep an eye on this little split cotter pin that goes in here. I did notice mine start to come out. Pushed it back in and it seems to be alright now. Keep an eye on that. So what I like to do is use a wrench. Let's just get this all ready to go. Some nice pink slime. It reminds me of the Ghostbuster movies. Alright. So that's race. What I do is a little dab on the back of the plate. And the reason for that, because it just helps it stick to the housing. And then that way it's not going to pop off when you're trying to work with it. Before I forget, let's put some oil in these bearings. Just a drop each side is enough. Alright. Pop the bearing on top. And spare gear next. Press it on. Alright, so that's got the correct fitment. Right. Get a bit of pink slime. Okay, now show you a nice easy way to pick up the balls. Use a little bit of grease. Press it in. Give you a demonstration here of why I do that, because now you can do that and it makes it easier to put it on without that falling off all the time. Right, so don't crank this all the way up and then do a quarter turn back like the manual tells you to do, because that is not how you build a diff. So just give it a little, like basically just until it seats or bottoms out, whatever terminology you want to use. Don't crank it up, because I'll show you later how we're going to run this in. So leave that open for now. Don't need to put the pin and the cap back on. Alrighty, I think I am going to start with the 50k. We'll just go straight to the 50. And then I'll use 30s as a backup. 50k. I got pretty much all the viscosities you can get. Yep, go and have a look on the webpage, lrcracing.com.au. Shock oil, diff oil, all the different ones. And it's good stuff. It's the same, I believe, tested and rated the same as the team associated stuff, so it's nice and accurate. What it says it is, it is. And I think for the shocks as well, this is for the diff oil, so it just comes in CST, but the shocks gives you the rating in CST and weight on the bottle. So if you're chatting to somebody at the track and they say, oh, I use this weight, and then you've got some of these, at least you know you can refer it back. Like if you run it in CST, at least you don't have to do any calculations or jump onto Google to see what's what. You can just read the bottle. Get out of there, man. There we go. So what I do is pop a bit of this stuff in the tube itself. 50k takes a while to wait for. Come on. Give it a squeeze. Just a blob on the top there. That's all you need. And then let that run down the tube. Because what we're trying to achieve here is no air bubbles. I'll pop another one. Come on, 50. Like molasses. Sweet and sticky. Come on. There we go. and let it work its way down. Okay, and then we smother one of these things with it.